Hey there, Revero 311, former Marine infantryman, Revolutionary War reenactor, and amateur history enthusiast, and I thought I would make this short video on why you should join me in reenacting the American Revolutionary War. And I'm just going to start off with a couple of the big ones that come to my mind. One, it's so much fun. It's really hard to really explain that. So if anyone's ever had a passion for history and living history, it's free. You can just come and do it. You can just you can find a group that you like. You can buy in as much as you want. And it's a great community of people that love history. Why you should do the American Revolution. So if you've been to reenactments, I hope you have. If you haven't, you really need to go. Any era is a great time. Any experience in seeing how the men would have lived and how the battles would have been fought, just getting a glimpse of it really helps it bring that history to life. But something that I've really noticed is that when I go to World War II reenactments and how quiet it is, and I think that's my own personal bias because I did do 3 deployments with the infantry and the Marine Corps, 1 combat and 2 non-combat, but the noise, it's just so much quieter when you use smokeless powder, blanks, your M1 Grands, everything's just going to be quiet compared to the real thing. You don't have that problem for the American Revolutionary War because you are using black powder. So when those cannons go off and you hear the roar of muskets and there's hundreds of muskets going off, it's just such an immersive experience, especially how that black powder, slowly moves, or that the smoke from the guns going off slowly fills the battlefield. It's fun. And like for anyone that's kind of a pyro head, you're gonna enjoy that. And number 2, there's big things happening in this historical community. We are coming up on 250 years since the beginning of the American Revolution. In 2025, it's going to be the 250-year anniversary of the Battle of Lexington Green, the Battle of Bunker Hill, the Battle of Great Bridge. So there's going to be a lot of people that are coming into this hobby that want to relive the hobby, and it's going to be at its peak. People talk about the bicentennial from 1976 and how many people got into reenacting and how big that was and how it really re-energized Americans for their history. And I guess that's the last part I want to really the next part I want to talk about is that this is a graying hobby. A lot of people, we have a lot of great people in the community. They've been doing this for way much longer than I have, probably for much longer than I've even been alive. But the hobby is starting to gray, and we needed to get more people interested in this part of American history. So there's so many things that are worth your time to at least show up to reenactment, see how the battle goes, and see if it's something that you're interested in. So I actually have my brother who runs a video channel about Christmas lights. I'll drop a link in the subscription down below. And he was kind of curious because he doesn't really know much about it. And he had some questions like, how did I get involved in it? Well, as mentioned, I was in the Marine Corps Infantry and I did my time there and I got out. But I've always been a lifelong fan of history. So ever since I was a kid, I remember going to Jamestown or the nearby event, and that's something I wanted to do when I got older. And the first chance I got when I moved out east is I joined a reenactment group. I've only been doing it for 2.5 years now, since 2021. I don't know if that maths. It'll be 3 years this year. I don't know, but I haven't really been doing it that long. And I guess that's the part that it doesn't really matter because there's no better time than right now to get involved in the hobby, especially with that 250th coming up. But you don't have to worry about if you don't know much about the American Revolutionary War. I really didn't, and I'm just I feel like I'm taking in a water hose of just being drenched with information about the American Revolutionary War. But that's fine. The community is it's fun to learn from the people that have been doing this for decades on decades, and there's so much information about the American Revolutionary War. I got into reenacting because I love history, and I remember being in the infantry, and this is a good little mix of it. You can take it as seriously as you want. You can go camp on the ground if you want. You can live crazy life, or you could take it at your own pace. There are some standards about shaving your beards and stuff like that, but you can work those in. It's really not that big of a deal. The hardest part about reenacting, honestly, I guess the hardest part and the biggest challenge to overcome is the price. To buy a reproduction musket, it's going to cost you $600-700 at the low end, and if you buy yourself a Pedersoli land pattern second model, it's about $1,600-1,700. But don't let that turn you off, because there are so many opportunities. If you show up to an event, you can actually purchase other reenactors' guns that they are selling at a discount, and it's called a blanket sale. And not only will they sell their muskets, but they will also sometimes sell other parts of their impression. That's what I'm wearing. It's called an impression, not a costume, but it really doesn't matter well, it's an impression. So you can pick up your uniform and you can kind of patch it together. So you can do it on the cheap that way, or the less expensive. Another way to do it is if you join a reenacting group. People are eager to get new people involved in the history, in the hobby. So you're most likely going to have a good experience getting already fitted out by other people that are already reenacting. Do you have to camp outside? No. I spent last night in a hotel. I'll spend tonight in the hotel. If you want to camp, you can camp. But that's all up to you. This is your hobby, so you can choose how engaged or not engaged. I have a full-time job that takes up most of all of my time, so people are understanding of that. Most of the people you don't do this as a full-time job, you do this as a hobby. How much money have I spent? I've spent a couple thousand, but as you can see, I've really jumped in with 2 feet. First, have I made any money? No, I haven't made any money personally. If you want to make money in this hobby, it's probably not the place for you. It's really not what it's there for. You're a volunteer to volunteer your time and your energy to reenact living history. How do you know when you get shot? Well, usually your officer tells you, and when your musket stops to go off, that's usually a good indication it's time for you to die. And I guess I'll close it with this. Does my family know? Yes. And anyone that knows me is not surprised at all that what I'm doing here. This is pretty much in line with my personality, inside and outside of this hobby. But in closing, I just really want this. I hope you can just see the energy I have and the passion I have for this hobby. And I really want you to think about joining me in reenacting. And you can do this. Just get off the couch and find a nearby event. You can Google nearby events. If you're on the East Coast, all the way up from Maine down to Georgia, there are events that happen throughout the years. So even if you're not going to jump in 2 feet first, just come out to one of the events. We're down here in Greensboro, North Carolina. It is absolutely beautiful out. It's going to be a weekend-long event. So we're going to have a major battle today with looks like a couple hundred reenactors, and then we'll have another battle tomorrow. And then there's also the camp life, the community life, the people you see at events ranging from South Carolina to Pennsylvania, the other people that share that history, that passion, just to live and reenact. So with that being said, I hopefully didn't talk too much of your ear off. I just really want you to join me in reenacting the American War of Independence. Have a good one.